Welcome to another edition of SVSU Red Alert, your weekly update on Saginaw Valley State University athletics. I'm your host, JJ Boehm. The SVSU football team suffered a disappointing loss on the road at Northern Michigan. The men's soccer team, however, claimed the GLIAC championship. We'll review both of those with SVSU football coach Jim Collins and men's soccer coach Cale Wasserman. That's all ahead on this edition of SVSU Red Alert. Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. The SVSU football team traveled to the Superior Dome at Northern Michigan and came up short, losing 33-28 to Northern Michigan. I'm joined by head coach Jim Collins, and coach, all losses hurt. This one probably has to hurt in a different way given how it played out.
You're right, JJ. All losses hurt. You know, they're devastating when they happen, and especially in the manner that it happened. It was a tough way to deal with, you know, some of the circumstances that happened during the course of the game. But in every football game, you're going to get things go your way and go against you, and it's your job as a team to overcome those things in order to win. And we weren't able to overcome them and lost the football game. And I give Northern Michigan credit. They had a good plan, and they executed for the most part, and they won the football game. I also want to, you know, make sure we mention it. And with our loss, we were still, as a Saginaw Valley State University Athletic Department, it's great to see the soccer team win the GLIAC championship. I want to send out our congratulations as a football program to the men's soccer program.
So again, kind of mixed emotions in some respects, but going back to that game at Northern Michigan, I don't know that I've ever watched a game play out quite like that in terms of Northern Michigan essentially gets 4 extra possessions because there's 2 muffed punts. There's another one where you have a guy blocking and bounces off his helmet, and then an onside kick, and it's tough to overcome that.
Exactly, and you know, on all 4 of those, we have opportunity to recover the football, and we didn't. You know, when you fumble the ball, the ball's laying around for somebody to recover it, and we didn't recover any of those situations. The onside kick, I thought they executed perfectly. It was a heck of a play. Give them credit, but the other ones were kind of freaky type of stuff. And you know what you have to hope for is, number one, when the ball hits the ground, your guys recover it, not the other team, and we weren't able to come up with the football in those situations.
And yet with all of that, you still got a chance to win the game twice late in the game. Once you get down to the 5-yard line and throw an interception, then you still get it back, and unfortunately not able to get the big play you needed at the end.
It's unfortunate because despite all those things, as you said, our job is still to finish those drives, win the football game, at least you know, take the lead and then play defense, and we weren't able to do it. It's disappointing. You know, we had some things where we didn't execute perfectly, and you know, in those situations you probably have to execute better, or at least come closer to the execution that we had. And you know, it's disappointing is the bottom line, but you got to learn from it and move on. We definitely had our opportunities, and we've got to learn from them.
And there are some bright spots when you look at that game. Tim Hogue running for over 200 yards for you really kept you in the football game.
Exactly, and that's, you know, that's one of those things where you feel like if you run the ball for 200 yards, you're going to have a great opportunity to win. And obviously, we still had the opportunities at the end, but it was great to see Tim take off like that. He's been nursing that ankle injury, hasn't been 100%. We've been practicing him in a limited manner, and I think that little bit of rest this week really paid off, because not only did he do a good job of creating big plays for our offense, but he also ran the ball very hard and was very physical.
So he's got a 48-yard touchdown. That's a one-play drive at one point. And again, SVSU building the lead. But as you said, you have to give credit to Northern Michigan, because this is a team that struggled so much early in the season. When they fall behind 28-16, you could say, well, you know, here we go again. But instead, they kept fighting their way back.
Exactly. And I thought that was the, you know, a crucial part in that game. When we went up 28-16, you know, it was that next possession for Northern Michigan, I thought, was going to decide their fate, and they didn't back down. They came right back. They went on a long touchdown drive and scored and brought the game close, and then executed the onside kick. So, you know, it's one of those things where you, as a coach, there's nothing more that you can do than just get your guys to keep fighting, fight to the bitter end, and that's where I'm proud of our football team, JJ, and that's the thing I can say all year long. There hasn't been a point where we've played with a lack of effort, and there hasn't been a point where I've seen our team give up. But, there's been points where we haven't executed to our potential, and obviously those are things that have cost us some football games.
And in that second half, as you're trying to go down and win it, you also get 2 big interceptions from Jeff Heath, again, giving your team extra possessions.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we've been missing is the turnover, creating turnovers, getting the interception. We've had some balls go off of our hands in the secondary, but haven't been able to finish, and it was good to see Jeff go up and get 2. And the one we didn't do anything with, but the other one right after the interception is when Tim had his long run. So it was good to turn at least one of those into points. And I thought that was critical in that part of the game because the offense had a couple 3-and-outs because of a holding penalty. But you just feel like you needed one more opportunity, one more drive, one more chance, and we didn't get it.
And again, people have been asking me, so I'm sure you've gotten the question too, when you've got it 2nd and 1 down at the 5 late in the game, why don't you run the football? Well, it was a run play, but you were saying, made the right decision, and John Jennings did, the quarterback, to check out of it.
Well, we were going to run right into a blitz, and in our offense, we don't want to do that. And we've got a good quarterback, and we've got good receivers, and we give them a lot of latitude in terms of checking out of a bad run into a pass that looks like it's going to work. And we've gone 10 games into the season and we've had a lot of success doing that. So you don't change simply because of that situation, and we just didn't execute it. The bottom line is we didn't execute that play. John made the right check, the right throw, and it just wasn't as good a ball as it needed to be, and we didn't come up with it. They did.
So again, for your team, I know that you made a point of addressing them right away on the bus to try and say, hey, you got to get this one behind you because we still have something to play for. Despite all of this, you still could wind up in a first-place tie in the GLIAC North.
And I think that's important to have something to play for, but at the same time, we know what we're playing for. We've put in a lot of work, and if we're not playing for Saginaw Valley State and the pride that comes with playing here, then you don't know what you're playing for. But to add that extra incentive in there, that you do have a championship still able within your reach. I think we're gonna have a lot of things going for us this week. The ability to bounce back, I think, is there. We've been a team that's bounced back well so far this year. The fact that we're playing our cross-state rival is a big thing. The fact that we still have something on the line in terms of the GLIAC standings in the North Division. So a lot of things to play for, a lot of things to stay motivated for, and you don't want this loss to linger too long.
And I've got to think, when you were going and breaking down the film for this game, you wish you could just delete about 6 clips, because everything else, it seemed like you did a lot of things right in that game.
You're absolutely right, JJ, and that's one of the things that's tough as a coach. And we can say that about the Hillsdale game as well, and I think there's probably 300 coaches across the country saying something very similar. And you have a good football team if you're saying just these 4 or 5 plays would have made a huge difference in the game. And the bottom line is we've got to eliminate them, and you just eliminate them by working hard and staying after it and not doing anything crazy. Just keep on track. We believe in what we're doing, and keeping our guys focused on being a good football team.
I know one of the things you were focused on was trying to contain the running game of Northern's quarterback, Cody Sapanik, and he had a decent day, but again, wasn't hurting you with the long runs, which was one of the things you were trying to prevent.
Well, if you look at the way our defense played, they gave up one long drive the whole game. They had a big kickoff return that got called back from being a touchdown, but still gave them the ball in the plus territory, and they hit a long pass on us. But really, the drive that hurt us on defense was the one right after we scored to make it to go up by 12, and that was a great drive by Northern. They put some things together, some good runs, but with the exception of that drive, we did a good job of shutting him down, shutting their offense down. But once again, when you give up possessions in the kicking game and you put a good kicker in field goal range, it's going to cost you.
Because again, a lot of those kicks that Northern made, they aren't short kicks. I think 3 of those field goals were 45 plus.
Exactly, and you see a 56-yarder go through the uprights right before half. That gave them some momentum. They hit a 51-yarder their first possession in the second half. Those are kicks you don't always see in this league, and I give their kicker a lot of credit. He kicked a 58-yarder against Grand Valley. Kicking in that dome without the wind either way is probably a plus, but still you got to give him a lot of credit. He converted his field goal opportunities.
What do you take away from this game now to try and get your team ready for its regular season finale and the game against Grand Valley?
The same thing you take from the Hillsdale game, and I think you mentioned it, JJ. You got 4 or 5 plays that cost you, and you've got to get those 4 or 5 plays corrected. You got to do something about it. We're still a good football team. We've proven that 7 weeks this season that we know how to win, and we've done it against good competition. So I think you got to take all the good things that you do and keep throwing those at your players, but also correct the bad things.
Hopefully all of that is able to come together. We'll preview that game against Grand Valley a little bit later on. When we come back, we'll be joined by SVSU wide receivers coach Dan Fedrosi. That's next on SVSU Red Alert.
This week, Spring Hill Suites Female Cardinal Athlete of the Week is Emily Short. Short, a sophomore on the SVSU women's cross country team, finished in 5th place overall at the 2012 NCAA Division II Midwest Regional Race to lead the Cardinals back to the Nationals. Short crossed the line with a time of 21:24 to finish in 5th place. The rest of her Cardinal teammates rallied off her impressive performance as they finished runner-up in 2nd place to qualify for the NCAA Division II National Championships. Short has finished in the top 5 4 times so far this season and 5 times inside the top 10. The SVSU women's cross-country team will continue their season in 2 weeks at the NCAA Division II Cross-Country National Championships in Joplin, Missouri on November 17th. Emily Short, this week's female Spring Hill Suites Cardinal Athlete of the Week.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm JJ Boehm, joined by SVSU wide receivers coach Dan Fedrosi. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And in addition to coaching the wide receivers, you also get to work with the specialists, and Northern's a good reminder of how important those guys can be.
Well, this year has been a little bit different. I got an opportunity to add those guys in who I work with, and have a really good group. You know, I do have 2 seniors, Tommy Goodrow, who's a backup kicker for us, and then Joe Scanlon, who's our long snapper, as well as Scott, who's been a really good kicker for us this year, and he's done some good things. And I think there's times we've looked back and said we need to get better, but Scott's been excellent in the kickoff game, especially. He's really excelled this year. We've had a lot of touchbacks. I think we had 3 or 4 last week when we decided we wanted to kick it away from a pretty good returner, and he excelled, and he kicked it into the middle of the end zone. They didn't return a couple of them. And Joe's done a great job snapping this year. He really has. There's a couple times that ball may go a little high, and I've been in that position as a snapper, and it's not always the funnest thing to be in. But he's done a great job. He's put it where we need it. We've put a little bit more on him this year. Tommy's always been ready. Sometimes one of the hardest positions on a football team is to be the backup kicker. You know, a lot of other positions you may get in there as a backup, but unfortunately in Tommy's position, he hasn't had an opportunity, but man, he's always ready. He works very hard in practice, and we know we can always count on him. And then I also have some good young freshmen that are really doing some good things, and Kyle Swales, who's going to be an excellent punter for us. Kyle Corneliuson, who came in from the Flint area and is a long snapper for us, and Brandon Huntoon from Port Huron, who really made a lot of improvement. And then I've got Bronco Hamilton as my kicker, a punter. Sometimes I forget about him because he plays quarterback for us, but he's had an excellent year. He's really kicked it well. We put a lot on him this year as a punter. So that whole group, kind of as a whole, I've been really happy with. They've been fun to coach. You know, those guys are a little different at times, and they have spend a little bit more time on the sidelines at practice because we do a little bit more stuff offense and defense. But they've done a really good job. I've been really happy working with them this year.
And again, you talk about it, you do have some seniors in that group. When you look at the wide receiver core, no seniors, but some guys that I think have made some important strides this season.
Well, our junior class has done a good job this year and developed athletically, as well as they've taken some leadership roles. You know, we've had some guys like a Kurt Van Essen who came off a knee injury from last year and has done really well this year. I've been really impressed with his progress. And then you've got Mark, and you've got Michael, and you've got Jeff, obviously. So we've had some guys that have come in there and done some good things, and we got to continue to get better. Those guys are older guys now. They're getting to the end of the year, and they've got to continue that maturity of growing and understand they need to play their best football at the end of the year, and hopefully we can do that this Saturday.
So much attention has been paid to Jeff Janis because he's had a standout junior season, lots of big plays, setting school records and all of that. But I think the rest of the receiving corps has done a pretty good job of recognizing that when my number is called, it's got to be my opportunity to step up.
Well, it's funny because you go back all the way back to the Michigan Tech game, and two of the biggest plays in that game were a couple catches that Mark had. Mark had, it didn't turn out in the scoreboard, but Mark had a big catch right before half that gave us an opportunity to kick a long field goal that Scott put through the uprights. And unfortunately, we were able to kind of take off in the second half and score some points, but that was huge for us to get 3 points as time was winding down to put us up by 10 at the point, as opposed to being, up only 7 or only up 4, whatever we were up at the time. That was huge. That was really big for us. So we've had guys that have made big plays. Jeff's had a couple big games that kind of sometimes overshadows that, but our receiver production has been solid. Mentally, we've had a really good year. We've had some drops. We've had some things that we haven't done great, but I'll tell you what, the last few weeks when I've graded these games, there's not a whole lot of minuses as far as our execution, and that's what we need to continue to do. But those guys have all been really good. All of our juniors and our sophomores and our freshmen are really starting to develop. Sean Wren came in. He's a redshirt freshman, and he started the last couple games, and he's played really well for us, and he's got a lot of enthusiasm and energy, so he's growing up pretty quick out there, too, so it's good to see out of him.
And you'll certainly need all of those guys to play well against a tough Grand Valley defense.
Yeah, they're as good as anybody will see. I think we played a really good team last week defensively in Northern Michigan. They were excellent, and they're fast, and they run around, and they tackle, and we're going to have to find a way to answer that, physicality especially. So playing as good as the defenses we'll play all year. We've played a lot of good defenses. Unfortunately, the GLIAC North this year was exceptional in the way of you better be ready to play every week, and it's going to be no different. This is another challenge, and we're going to have to find a way to be ready to play our best.
Well, hopefully all of that comes together and you can play your best against Grand Valley. Dan Petrosi, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And when we come back, we'll be joined by SVSU men's soccer coach Cale Wasserman. That's next on SVSU Red Alert.
Saginaw Valley State University, where students learn in personal classroom settings and state-of-the-art labs. Where students make a difference in Michigan's Great Lakes Bay region and study the world. A place where we celebrate red pride. Saginaw Valley State University.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm J.J. Boehm, joined by SVSU men's soccer coach Cale Wasserman. And Cale, first of all, congratulations winning the GLIAC Tournament Championship.
Thank you, J.J.
And got to be a good feeling to win that one and after winning the regular season title as well.
Yeah, last year we were fortunate enough to win the GLIAC regular season championship as well. But going into the tournament, we gave up a goal in the semifinal after playing a really good game, a very good team performance, but it kind of left a bitter taste in our mouth. So it was great this year to host it again and to beat 2 quality teams and win the conference championship at home. It was a great feeling for the boys.
And again, I know to be able to have that at home, it's a big plus, isn't it?
Yeah, you get to sleep in your own bed, you get to use your own locker room, family, friends, fans come up to the game because you're close to home. So, we've done very well on our field this year. I think we were something like 10 wins and 1 loss maybe. So it was a definite advantage and one that we like to take advantage of.
And Notre Dame College, who you beat in the championship game, a lot of people may not be familiar with them because it's their first year competing in the GLIAC, but they've got a very good soccer tradition.
Yeah, Notre Dame came out of the NAIA where they were a national powerhouse, went to a couple national championship games, have some quality players, a good coaching staff, very organized, very talented, and beating them twice in one season is not an easy task. So we really had to grind it out yesterday, and when we put the goal in, we knew that if we could continue to put pressure on them and not give them easy chances, that we would have a good chance. But it wasn't easy, and the boys stepped up. They grinded it out, and to hold a team like that scoreless is an impressive feat. So we were very happy with the result yesterday.
And holding teams scoreless is something you've done in a large degree this year. It's kind of unusual to have that many games that finish in shutouts, but obviously that's a credit to both your defense and your goalkeeping.
Yeah, first and foremost, Jason Wise has been unbelievable the last couple weeks. He made a game-saving diving save lower left yesterday. He caught a shot point blank. So he was awarded first team all-conference and very well deserved. But our mentality the whole year has been the best defense is a good offense. And we know that when we have the ball, when we're in the other team's end, we can put pressure on them without giving them an opportunity to get near our goal. But our guys have stepped up all over the field. Our back line's been great. Guys like Bobby Short, Craig Neal, who are attacking players, but probably the best defensive attacking players, if that makes sense, in the league. They just put so much pressure on other teams. And with our back line and Jason playing so well, I think it's maybe 9 games straight of shutout soccer, and hopefully we can continue that into the national postseason.
And again, you know that you have qualified for the national postseason. Exactly who you play, still to be determined. But how much did it help you to have that experience of making the tournament field last year and have that experience?
I think it's been great. And again, similar to our conference tournament loss last year, our national tournament loss against Rockhurst, a very quality side, has motivated our team throughout the year to get back there. We want another opportunity to compete against the top team in the country and show that we are up in that level. So it was a good experience for us last year to have to take a plane trip, fly into Kansas City against a team that was number 4 in the country, and we experienced what it's like to play at that level and to get there. And I don't think we're satisfied with just getting there anymore, and that's what's really pushed us this year. Our team wants to get there, compete, and win games at that level. And we're hoping that we get the opportunity to hopefully play at home. We're not sure. Won't find out until tonight at about 7 o'clock. So hopefully when we find out where we'll play and who we'll play, we'll take this week to improve, to prepare, and hopefully win a game at that level.
And I know that you did play a couple of GLVC teams early in the season as well. I mean, a lot of soccer has transpired since then, but does that help you at all in terms of being able to evaluate some of these opponents that you could face?
A little bit. I mean, luckily I actually coached in the GLVC for 2 years, so I know some of the coaches, some of the styles of those programs, but they're all quality teams no matter who we play, whether it's a GLVC or one of the independents or even a GLIAC team in the national tournament, which is still a possibility. I think we'll figure out a way to improve and prepare and kind of focus on ourselves first and foremost and hopefully do what we need to do when we get there.
What has been the key to your team's play here down the stretch? Because you knew what you needed to do to be able to host the GLIAC tournament. You did that, and then you win the tournament.
I think a lot of factors come into play, and playing as a unit is probably the biggest thing that's been going forward for us, attacking-wise and defensively. We don't say, okay, you 4 guys are our attackers, you 5 guys are our defenders. It's the 11 guys on the field, you're all attacking when we have the ball. Even the goalkeeper is involved in possession and communication. Defensively, it's the same thing. If you're a forward, midfielder, defender, goalie, you're all defending when we don't have the ball. And that unit, that team mentality has been good for us. So obviously there's some luck involved where we needed one team to lose and we need a goal to go in here. So, if you get the luck and you're working for it, good things happen.
Well, hopefully some good things happen for you in the NCAA tournament. Cale Wasserman, congratulations again and good luck.
Thanks, JJ.
And when we come back, we'll be rejoined by SVSU football coach Jim Collins. That's next on SVSU Red Alert.
This week's male Spring Hill Suites Cardinal Athlete of the Week is Jason Wise. Wise, the senior goalkeeper on the number 18 ranked SVSU men's soccer team, posted a pair of shutouts in the 2012 GLIAC men's soccer tournament over the weekend as the Cardinals clinched their first ever conference tournament title. Wise completed the first victory over rival Northwood on Friday with a 3-0 shutout as he worked 79-43 in net while making 4 saves for the shutout in the GLIAC semifinals. Wise then picked up another shutout victory over Notre Dame, Ohio on Sunday as SVSU defeated the Falcons 1-0 in the GLIAC championship match. Wise was named to the All-GLIAC first team as well as to the GLIAC All-Tournament team. Wise currently holds a .72 goals against average, which is the best in the conference, and in the top 20 in NCAA Division II soccer. He has not allowed a goal against a Division II opponent in over 791 minutes of action, as the Cardinals' defensive unit has shut out their previous 9 Division II opponents. Jason Wise, this week's male Spring Hill Suites Cardinal Athlete of the Week.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. The SVSU football team concludes its regular season with a matchup against their rivals from Grand Valley. And Coach Collins, I imagine it won't be that difficult to get motivation for this game. It's always a big game when these two teams meet.
No question. The fact that it's a home game, I think, with our students there, our fans there, is going to make it a great atmosphere, and our guys will be ready to play, no doubt about it.
And this is a Grand Valley team that they had a dip in the middle of their season, lost a couple of games, but the last couple of weeks seem to be playing much better.
Well, you see what they're doing is running the ball a lot better than they were in that two-game stretch where they lost those two games. And then the other thing they're doing, they've got some guys healthy on defense, and they're doing a great job with their front four, containing the run and playing better defense. So it's a team that seems like has gotten better the last couple of weeks and is playing what you'd expect out of Grand Valley.
And this is a team that last year you go to their place, it's a close football game, it's 28-24 in the fourth quarter, and then they get a kickoff return for a touchdown. That seemed to really turn the tide. But again, a lot of things that if you go and look at last year's film, some positive performances to be able to build on.
Well, we fell behind early in that game, and really our defense was out on the field for a long time in the first quarter, but our offense battled back, our defense battled back. There was no quit in us. We got right back in that game, and we're going into the fourth quarter having had some success running the football, throwing it. We made some big plays on defense, created some turnovers. So we were doing all the things it takes to win that football game, and then we got hit by the big return, and we weren't able to convert points on the next possession, and then the game got away from us. But, you know, that's going to happen when you're playing a good football team, and that's where kicking game and big plays in the kicking game, as we found out this week, can really hurt you.
And I know, among other things, this is also senior day, and when you look back at that loss to Northern Michigan, Jeff Heath has 2 interceptions, Tim Hogue has over 200 yards. Those are a couple of seniors who know that my opportunities to keep playing football, you know, at the college level are now coming to a close.
Exactly, and you could see it on all their faces. And you know, you mentioned all of them. The guys that played, I thought Hoyle and Caserta had their best games blocking, or Hoyle and Zach Sesich had their best games blocking. Caserta played as good a game as you can play. The seniors going to sell out, and they're going to really sell out knowing it's their last game, it's senior day, and it's against our rival.
And again, first place in the GLIAC North is still within your reach because you're only 1 game back of Grand Valley, so you beat them and you still wind up tied for first.
And, you know, it's not the exact scenario that we would have wanted at the beginning of the year, but it's close enough to it, and it's the only scenario at this point that you can be happy about. So I think our guys are going to really sell out, put it on the line, and we're going to go out there and play Saginaw Valley football.
And how do you get your team to put this one behind them? I know, again, you addressed the team on the bus. I know you wanted them to get that bad taste out of their mouth, but at the same time, you know, they're human beings, and so you've got to make sure that you're trying to get them focused on the next challenge ahead of them.
You know, and what you do is you focus on what we've done in the past, and I think we've bounced back from 2 other losses pretty good. I think it's tougher on the coaches because the coaches live it every minute of the day, whereas the players can go to school, they've got other things going on in their life, and kids are resilient. So I've got no doubts our team can bounce back and get that bad feeling, especially considering the circumstances, who we're playing, senior day, last game of the season at our stadium, and then obviously still something on the line.
And again, you're taking on a Grand Valley team that I think some people almost wrote off when they hit that midseason skid. But again, you look at what they've been able to do the last couple of weeks, not the same football team, much like Northern Michigan, who you played a week ago.
And it's impressive when you look at the turnaround. And I think, you know, they're a team that feeds off of the other side of the ball, and with the way the defense is playing right now, I think it's feeding their offensive performance even more. Running game is really turned on, and you look at how impressive those wins they had against Wayne State and Hillsdale were against good football teams that do run the ball well, and the job they did stopping the run. I think, you know, they're probably playing as good a football as they've played all year.
Well, hopefully Saginaw Valley plays its best football in the regular season finale. Coach Collins, good luck.
Thanks, JJ.
And we thank you for joining us, and we hope you have enjoyed this edition of SVSU Red Alert.